Aloha team. This is our training for ELA Assessment, grades 5 through 8. You may very well hear my baby in the background because she's sitting right next to me. Our objectives for our training are to describe the goals and assessments for English language arts in grades 5 through 8, and to create a benchmark calendar that meets department expectations. Why are we doing this? The reason is backwards planning, essentially to help us clarify our goals and ensure our assessments align with our goals as well as our instruction, that it all lines up. And it really helped me personally to clarify what I needed to do this year as I mapped out week by week which assessments we were going to tackle then. So our success criteria is to complete a benchmark calendar that addresses our standards. And our anticipated time for this training will be 40 minutes, including watching this video and following along, completing your benchmark calendar. So you'll need two things. You'll need your Monticello Academy Curricular Standards document, 2020-2021. By the time you've watched this, they may have updated the date, but it essentially looks like this. There's a big picture of Monticello on it with our table of links for all the different links. And you will need the links to our subject, English. And you also need the 2021-22 benchmark data review schedule. It looks like this. I'll have the link to it in the classroom assignment. So you'll need those two links. Now our first step is to update our standards on the Monticello Academy Curricular Standards document, and you can use 6th grade standards as your guide. So I'm just going to show you what we have come up with. This document is the fruit of many discussions throughout the past year, and we've narrowed down our standards of focus to 10 standards, and here they are. I'll just go one by one. So you have reading fluency, also called mechanics of reading. Students can decode grade level texts. We do that through recorded or in-person fluency tests. We'll do that at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. Now, based on where they're at, they'll be placed into different groups for lip block. Our end of year mastery levels are here, 120 correct words per minute and 98% accuracy. So we really want them to get to that level so that they can decode and then comprehend after they decode. Independent reading, we'll come back to that later because we're changing independent reading. We're moving away from using the AR system. We're still figuring out what system will replace that. Then we've got reading comprehension, and this is where we will show understanding of what we're reading. In grades 5 and 6, this will be primarily informational texts coupled with a few literary texts, and they'll be writing a response to a document-based question. In grades 7 and 8, we will be flipping that. It'll be primarily literary texts coupled with some informational texts, and that will be based on your curriculum map, the scope and sequence for 7th and 8th grade. Document-based questions, though, are what we're all going to be doing, and these are a question that is asked to the students. It's a persuasive question, and they have to respond persuasively. They have to use evidence from the text that we give them, so they're showing that they can comprehend those texts, and they need to write it in an organized 5-paragraph essay. We want to get them doing that from the very beginning, from 5th grade and then on through 8th grade. And as they go through the grade levels, the scaffolding is removed gradually so that they can more and more do this independently. And so they can be ready for when they get to high school and DBQs are more a part of the regular curriculum, especially when they get to AP courses. I'm going to show you a quick example of a DBQ in case you haven't seen one for a while, or if this is the first time that you've seen one. Just one moment, please. Okay, here's an example of a DBQ. This would be causes of the French Revolution, which is one of the causes, or one of the questions I'll be asking them in our DBQ in 6th grade. And so you essentially give them a question, And this question, I believe, is what are the major causes of the French Revolution? And you have several documents. These can be text documents, they can be graphics, they can be cartoons, quotations from literary texts or informational texts. And the students have to wrestle with these questions, discern what's going on, and finally bring it together in an essay. 5 paragraphs would be 3 subtopics, an introduction and a conclusion. So this is what we would want to teach them. All right, so let me head back to the standards document. Okay, reading comprehension, that's what that is. Expository writing. So not only are we doing persuasive writing, but also informative, expository types of writing, where we introduce a topic, develop it, and use the right kind of language according to the task. We'll also be doing narrative writing. We want at least 2 narratives, wherever we can fit them into our curriculum. These are stories. So again, introducing the context, characters, developing our story with different strategies, using language appropriate to the task, whatever the story might be, whatever the genre might be that you choose. We want to have 2 narratives. Then we've got mechanics of writing. This is grammar. So we will be choosing different skills to teach and assess. And because we can't teach all of grammar. We can't test all of grammar, so we're going to focus on a few key skills that we think the students need the most based on our grade level standards in the state, and we'll choose what standards are most important, and then we'll include those standards, one on our DBQs, and then on our other writing pieces. So expository, narrative, and DBQ writing will all have an element of grammar. That will all be part of the rubric that we assess them on. Spelling and vocabulary, also called word work. We'll choose academic vocabulary for the students to learn and use and also spell. We really want them to know these words. So we'll have those included in their writing pieces as well. Speaking of presenting, we will have students present some of their work. I'm choosing to do that in the format of pop-up debates as well as professional presentations. So there will be 2 debates and 4 presentations throughout the year where I will help the students, or I will assess the students on their speaking skills. And the way that I'll be teaching that, and I'd like us all to teach that, is through this acronym PV-LEGS, and there's a rubric on the document. You can look there. And we can talk more about that later on. All right, keyboarding. By the end of the year, students can type at a minimum of 27 words per minute. That's for me, that's for 6th grade. I believe in 8th grade, the max is 35 words per minute. And the accuracy bumps up a little bit in the higher grades as well. But we are going to assess them 3 times, beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. With some typing tests on this website that the school has purchased license to. Finally, test taking skills. It's not the most important thing, but state mandated tests are something that we measure. We do focus on them because the state requires us to, and they do provide a baseline of what the students have understood. So there will be pre-tests and post-tests that we give throughout the year on the different domains of English. I believe there are 4. There's informational text, literature, language, which is grammar, and then listening skills. So I'll be measuring or assessing 4 of the post-tests. I won't be measuring the 4 pre-tests, but the post-tests I will, as well as the summative at the end of the year. This will go on their grade. It can, as far as the summative goes, a good grade can replace a bad grade, but we can't, as far as I'm aware, we can't use a lower score on their final grade. That may change. I'm not sure exactly, but this is where the direction that we're moving into with test taking skills. Okay, so those are our 10 standards, our 10 power standards. So we're going to now I'm going to take a look at the benchmark schedule and show you what it looks like to map it out and schedule each assessment, what that will look like. So if you open up the benchmark data review schedule, you'll see that there's a column for, or a row, excuse me, a row for each week of our school year. Breaks are mapped out, as well as parent-teacher conferences. Now, what we want to do is after looking at each of our standards, we want to decide, okay, when am I going to measure fluency? When am I going to measure keyboarding? When am I going to measure the RISE benchmarks? What about DBQs? And we place those where it makes sense for our curriculum map for each year. So if you take a look at my example, the 6th grade example, you have to maneuver on the bottom to the correct tab. You'll see that I'm going to have, let's take fluency first. I'm going to have a beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year fluency test to see where they are at 3 points in the year. And I know that that first week, we're going to do fluency tests. Middle of the year, January 12th, we're going to do fluency again. And that's where it lives in my plan. I'm just automatically planning for that. Same thing with keyboarding. Same thing with the RISE benchmarks, and on throughout all the standards. And I've tried to break it up so that there aren't a ton of assessments or benchmarks in each week. I've tried to map it out according to where it makes sense in my curriculum map for 6th grade. But I've also tried not to double up. I've had to double up a couple of times on assessments, but wherever possible, you want to spread it out, because we're not the only people who are going to be assessing our kids, and we don't want them to have burnout. We know that math, science, history, on, they're all going to have certain assessments on certain weeks. And so this really helps not only us, but it helps all of our teammates to see where the assessments are and to be able to plan for those assessments. And it's also going to help the kids too. I imagine they're going to have access to something like this so that they can see when the tests are coming. So that's the video. All that remains for you to do after you've updated your standards is for you to schedule each assessment according to your standards. You can use, as I've said, you can use my 6th grade tab as a guide. And remember that not all weeks need an assessment. You can spread it out however it makes the best sense for your content that you're going to be teaching. Okay. Well, great. I'm excited for us to work together this year, guys. And I think that we're going to do a lot of good. This benchmark schedule has already really helped me to map it out in my brain, what's coming, when it's coming, and then how do I backwards plan to get the kids ready for each of these assessments. And once again, that's our rationale. That's why we're doing it. We want to make sure that everything lines up so that we're not wasting time. Everything is clear and makes sense for the kids. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you later.